Hello and welcome back to the third rail. I am finishing running in the little class 50 we have on the track at the moment. It's an example of what I call a drawer queen, a model left unused for a very long time. It has taken me a while to get it to run properly. I had to deal with the usual congealed grease and oil all over the place, as well as sluggish or seized axles here and there. I wanted to rush things a bit, and this led to a few oversights, so I also had to take it apart several times. Basically, it was a big pain, but we got there in the end, and I think it looks like she is running fine now. So I'm going to bring it to a stop. There we go. The model is a Märklin 3319. It's a class 50 running number 1805 of the ÖBB, the Austrian Federal Railways. The model was issued as a special series for Austria in 1992. It's outside of the period of the Märklin production I collect, but it was love at first sight, so I had to get one. It's got this bit of a Dark Knight vibe to it with its black wheels. It also looks close to an original BR50 with its large Wagner wind deflectors and the tender type used here. If you follow the channel, you know that I only service locomotives when I am going to use them, and today is no exception. To mark the new arrival, I thought it would be nice to get all my other BR50s out for a little spin. I have prepared and parked them in the roundhouse before starting the maintenance on the 3319. So let's move there for a bit to have a quick look at them. We are going to bring the first one out, which was the first BR50 made by Märklin. It's model number 3084. It's a Deutsche Bundesbahn version in a post-1968 configuration with a cab tender. The model was sold between 1974 and 1996, with an identical digital version available under model number 3684 from 1985 until 1996. It's a pretty little thing, although my example is missing its glass cab windows, I think. So we are going to reverse it back to the shed for now. There we go. And we'll move the bridge to the next position to get the next victim out. All BR50s issued by Märklin before the year 2000 reused the tooling of the 3084 for the vast majority of their components. And here is the first variation. It's a 3315. This version represents a class 50 in the so-called UK, Übergangskriegslokomotive configuration. It's a simplified construction produced during World War II. The locomotive wears a pre-1968 Deutsche Bundesbahn livery and was produced between 1987 and 1995. The war locomotive look was achieved through a few tiny modifications to reflect the most obvious characteristics of the prototype. Two of the cab windows were filled, the leading wheels were replaced with disc wheels, and the tender has been changed to a bathtub tender, the so-called Wannen tender. Technically, the model was fitted with an electronic reverser in the tender. This allows for smoother changes of direction. Everything else is identical to the 3084. You can have a closer look at this logo in a couple of videos I made when the model joined the collection a while back. There should be a few cards at the top of the screen now, and also a few links in the video description. Right, let's reverse this model back for now, and we'll have a look at the next one. Let's move the bridge. There we go. And we've arrived. We can see large Wagner wind deflectors coming out of the shed. It is the first version of the 3319. It was produced for Austria in 1990 and for the export market worldwide in 1991. The model joined the collection about a year ago. Again, there'll be a link at the top of the player now and in the video description. Compared with the 3084, we have a different tender, we have an electronic reverser, and of course, large Wagner-type wind deflectors have been fitted instead of the small Vita-type wind deflectors. This version would probably look the closest to an original BR50 configuration, both from a shape and color combination. Märklin issued a couple more models in the 1990s, I believe, but I think it's fair to say that Märklin really got a lot out of the 3084 tooling. If we look at the prototype, there were almost as many types of BR50s as the number of units produced. In the early days, due to the war, changes were made on the fly based on the availability of materials and components. And after the war, locomotives were rebuilt many times over the course of their remaining career. The BR50 was designed as a freight locomotive, and that's how I used them most of the time, but it was in fact used for all types of traffic. You could have seen it shunting, in front of small freight transfer trains, hauling heavy coal trains, container trains, construction trains, and other freight trains. But it was also heavily used in passenger traffic, and it could have been seen in front of all sorts of consists of varying length and composition. This is a good example of the irrelevance of the era system for some types of traffics. Nothing beats pictures. So I thought I'd try and put together a few passenger trains for the German versions. Let's have a look at what I could find in the collection while the locos are warming up. I picked a few pictures as inspiration. By the way, you'll find credits and links to all the sources I used today in the video description. I found this example with 3-axle coaches. I always say you can never have enough of Umbauwagen. The investment always pays off, so I have a lot of them in the collection. I took a few out. We have 4079 second-class coaches, 4067 first and second-class coaches, and a 4080 second-class coach with luggage compartment. They will do nicely behind the 3315, I think. And after reading them, this is how they look on the track. I'm not sure the order of the cars is correct. But I think it should look the part. Let's couple that thing to the loco. There we go. And I'll move the consist out of the way. But trains weren't always that long for this type of traffic. Here is an example from the early 1970s. It's a kind of old meets new composition with a second-class Silberling coach and a few Umbauwagen. So here I've taken out a classic 4082 second-class Silberling, a 4067 first-class, second-class coach, and another 4080 second-class coach with luggage compartment. And if we look at them on the track, I think it looks the part. So we are going to attach this train to the 3084. There we go. Very nice. We'll move that train out of the way too. Now let's look at Austria. There I could not find a lot of easily accessible documentation. So if you know of any sources other than the one mentioned in the video description, I think it would be very useful for myself and other viewers if you could share them in the comment section. Many thanks in advance. I found this picture I quite like. It would stay with the passenger theme we've had so far. So it's a BR50 leaving Vienna in the late 1950s in front of a small passenger train. And as the first version of the 3319 is very close to its original Reichsbahn livery, I think it's the ideal candidate here. I have a few so-called Thunderboxes, Donnerbüchsen, in ÖBB livery that should look pretty close to the consist on the picture too. They are a special edition for Austria, made in 1984. We have the 4109, which is a second-class coach, and the 4110, which is the luggage van. So let's have a quick look at them on the track first, again. I really like the dark green of the ÖBB livery. Right, let's get the locomotive now. There we go. We're coupled. And we'll reverse. And we're off. Okay, now the second version of the 3319, and there I hit a bit of a roadblock. This locomotive was very camera shy. I could only find one picture of it in front of a train. By the looks of it, it spent most of its life pulling iron ore trains. The type of cars used in Austria wasn't produced by Märklin at the time. Austrian firms Lilliput, Kleinbahn and Märklin Modellbahn all made version of this car during the 1970s and 1980s. And I think these cars would look very, very nice behind this locomotive. But I don't have any right now. Although who knows, I might buy some at some point, but it's not really my priority at the moment. We'll see. One day maybe. So I will do an ÖBB freight train instead, using basic covered and open freight cars to try and achieve a look of a freight train as they were pulled in the area by BR52s of the ÖBB at the time. So I have a few 4407s, which are covered freight cars from Märklin, and a few 4466s, which are open freight cars. Not prototypical at all. I'm not even sure that the ÖBB logo was already applied to cars at the time the locomotive ended its service, but we'll imagine they were. I think that will do for now. Yeah, not bad. Right, let's get the loco now. We'll try and attach everything together. The short coupling needs a bit of assistance. There we are. And we are off. Right, I think I've spoken for long enough now. I will hand over to the trains I hope you enjoy them for the next few minutes.